Yeah, we finally got a date of November 4th of this year. I know I'm a bit late to the party, but I've been following the Tinto talks for this for more than a year now. I think they started in February of last year. But we finally got a date this week that is going to be releasing in November. I know that they're still working on some stuff and they're still releasing new updates every week on the Tinto Talks, talking about what new features they're going to implement or they've implemented already or they're going to change. But most of the work is done. I know that a while ago we got released to part of the YouTube community that is quite famous for playing these games, like social streamers, Red Hawk, Shlevik, Ludi, and they had a preview which got some, I wouldn't say mixed reviews. I think most of them said that they thoroughly enjoyed the time spent playing the game back then, and they had some negative things to say, but it was mostly related to the UI. And most of those things I think got fixed since then, from what I've heard from them. There were also some minor complaints about lack of content for certain countries, apparently, but it looks like they're trying to get some sort of content that's more standard per region or types of countries instead of particular countries. But it also looks like next year there are a few DLCs planned covering some specific countries that are quite famous in this game, like, Byzantium, and also the old alliance between France and Scotland. They're going to get some content too. But it does look like in this version of the game, they're mostly focusing on certain events and on certain region, as opposed to the last game where they would have content for the countries themselves. I think now they're focusing more on a broader area of content, let's say. But yeah, I've been following the Tinto talks. I've also commented on some of them, made some suggestions when they got to the region where I'm from. And it does look like some of them got implemented, which is I was honestly surprised, especially because some of them were very particular to, honestly, just my hometown appeared in one of them, and I made a small correction and they actually corrected it, which I was quite surprised by. I'm always happy to see when devs listen to the smallest suggestions and actually implement it when it makes sense. I also love some of the new things they're implementing, like especially with how Christianity now works and religion in general now works in the game, where we have these international organizations that represent the schism between the churches, let's say, or even the inner organization of some of the branches of Christianity, like the Orthodox Church being split into different organizations, like it is in real life. I also love the fact that they mention that you can also shape these organizations yourself, and you can even create new ones if you'd like to. Another thing I absolutely love is the way they're handling the economy, which is going to be like Victoria 2 or Victoria 3 economical system, but light, let's say, which makes sense for this type of game. The new army system it's probably going to take some time for me to get used to, because I'm still not used to any army system they use in any of the other games other than EU4. Like Crusader Kings, I've never got used to the different ways of recruiting people to fight in your army. Like you have levies and paid soldiers and vassals that have their own levies and stuff like that. It's quite a complex system. And EU4 was always a lot more simplified, where you had your country's army, and then if you wanted to, you could hire condottieri, which functioned the same way basically as your country's army. Or you had mercenaries, which once again, they were similar to condottieri in a way. But there were no major differences with how these armies functioned, other than some background stuff like manpower, payment, stuff like that. But from what I've seen in this version of the game, they're implementing a system more similar to Crusader Kings 3, let's say, and adapted to the times, of course. One thing I'm not a big fan of, however, is the watercolor style they use for the maps, or the map colors, I mean. I wasn't really a fan of that in Victoria 3 either, and it looks like they're going with a similar style for this. I'm not a big fan of it, mostly because I'm used to the older system, which had more solid colors, but that's a very minute thing to get used to, honestly. It's not that big of a deal anyway. Also, when it comes to populations, I absolutely love it now that it's a system similar to Victoria as well, where you don't have a province where it just says that, hey, the people of this province are part of this culture and that's it. There's no such thing as minorities or any other ethnicities living in the same province. It's just one solid one. But in this one, they actually changed it, so it's actually population based, where you can see the actual number of different types of ethnicities, cultures, classes, and so on, which is much closer to the Victoria system. Trading as well, I love the fact that now you can actually modify the trade nodes or the trade regions, let's say, whereas before they were always fixed and you couldn't change them. The only way you could change them is by modding, and even then it was once you start the game, that was it. Here you can actually change them as you evolve with your country, which of course grants you more control over the trades overall globally. But yeah, honestly, I cannot wait for the 4th to finally arrive, so I can finally have my hands on this game. That's all I wanted to say.